We're going to resume learning the laws of Shabbos in the summary of the Code of Jewish Law. We are holding in Siman Ayin Beis, chapter 72. And it's Halacha 5, the fifth, subsection 5. People have different books. If you have the three book volume written by translated by Rabbi Tauger, then it will be on page 6. In this halacha 5, did everyone find it? Anyone need help finding it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Seems like everyone has the spot. Just to point out, those that are on the phone, if you want to unmute yourself, press pound six. Press what is it? Pound 6, I think. So
I believe that Rabbi Smith said star 6.
Star 6. Thank you. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was
someone else.
So if you are, thank you very much. So if you are on the phone, you're calling in, then to unmute yourself, it's star 6. So in Halacha 5, it's going to talk about the importance to personally prepare for Shabbos, take part in preparing for Shabbos. Although a person could have house help in the house, a person should do some part of the preparation for Shabbos. So let's see it inside the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Mitzvah al kol adam she'af al pi sheyesh lo kama misharsim. It's a mitzvah for every person that even though a person could have many servants, have much help in the house, mikol makom yaseh gam hu b'atma ez adavar l'chvei Shabbos. Nevertheless, he should himself do something to honor Shabbos, in order to show honor to Shabbos. And now we're going to list different rabbis from the time of the Talmud that they made sure to do a preparation for Shabbos. Kedematzino b'Amoraim, Rav Chisda haya mechatich asayarach dak. Rav Chisda, the Rab, would cut vegetables into small pieces. The Rab of Rav Yosef haya mevakim eitzim. Rabbi and Rav Yosef, they would cut wood, they would chop firewood. Rav Zera haya madlik esa'esh. Rav Zera would kindle a fire. Rav Nachman haya misakin esabayis. Rav Nachman would clean the house, tidy up in the house. Umachnis kelim atzrichin l'Shabbos umefana kliachol. He would bring in utensils that were used for Shabbos, special utensils for Shabbos, and he would take out the utensils that were just for the weekday. So from these rabbis, umehem yolamid kol adam v'lo yomer le'efkem b'chaydi. From these rabbis, everyone should learn to honor Shabbos and not say that it's beneath my dignity. shemechabed es Shabbos, because this gives a person honor when he honors Shabbos. So we see from this halacha that a person should try to personally do a preparation, do preparation before Shabbos in order to honor Shabbos. And it doesn't matter if a person feels that I regularly don't do such tasks, but to honor Shabbos, he should do such a task. Because when a person does does something for Shabbos, that gives a person honor. So it's never, a person should never say that it's beneath my dignity to go do certain tasks that are necessary to prepare for Shabbos. You should try to find something to do in order to honor Shabbos. So in this halacha, it mentioned what the rabbis would do: cutting up vegetables into small pieces, chopping firewood, lighting a fire, cleaning a house, bringing in utensils for Shabbos, taking out the utensils that we don't use for Shabbos. Some of them we have nowadays, we do nowadays, and some others are not so. We don't really do. Our lifestyle doesn't really. We don't really do them in our lifestyle. We don't really. The way that we cook, we don't have to chop wood in order to have wood. We don't need to chop wood in order to have put food on top of a fire. So would anyone like to suggest some other possibilities of ways that different preparations that could be done for Shabbos?
Make the soup.
Right? Yeah. Make soup, make some food, yeah.
Clean the house really well so that if you have guests, even for yourself.
It's a little low. Didn't hear so well.
Sorry. Okay. Is that better? You really prepare the house for a day or two before, like really cleaning it well and preparing a nice table, maybe with flowers or something besides for cooking.
Mm-hmm. Have nice things in the house. Very good.
And somebody has to open the wine.
Opening things for Shabbos, okay. Yeah, so these are some good yeah.
Sing songs for Shabbos.
Sing songs?
Sing Zemiras, a song for Shabbos.
Right, okay. Talking more before Shabbos.
Tell your husband what you'd like him to cook.
Interesting, okay.
I assume it's the same rules for a guest at someone else's house to find something to do?
Good question. So should a guest also, so as it says in this, every person should try to do something because to honor Shabbos. So this is something it's a good thing to do. It would be good if a person could help. So a guest, if he could find a way that he could do something to honor Shabbos before Shabbos, to honor Shabbos, that would be a good thing to do. It's not an obligation, but if a guest could do something, that would be a good thing. If it's, let's say he's in his
help
room
set
that
a
he's staying.
table or add chairs to a table or things like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it seems like we got quite a few different examples.
What about because of everybody being more or less quarantined, calling family members and wishing them a good Shabbos?
Right, that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Prepare for Shabbos. It's a good way. Yeah, it's a good thing to do before Shabbos. Is it? I'm not sure if that would fit into this, but it's possible that it would fit into this category. Of the preparations for Shabbos.
These all are things.
But definitely, it's a good thing to do.
We're discussing things that would be done before sundown. That is before Shabbos, rather than something done during Shabbos.
Things that should be done before sundown, yeah, before sunset, in order to show honor for Shabbos.
Okay. If you didn't do anything, I'm thinking from the point of view of a guest, but if you didn't help with the preparation of the Friday night dinner, could you still make up for it by setting the table on Saturday afternoon?
Good question. It doesn't clearly state that it has to be done on Friday, so it could be that shows honor to Shabbos. I don't know for sure, but it seems to me that would be showing honor to Shabbos by you wanting to make it nice on Shabbos. By you setting the table, showing that, like, setting the table and going and making it nice for Shabbos. So it doesn't have to be. Typically, a lot of these things are done on Friday, but I would think that it could also be done on Shabbos. But I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, okay.
Well, guests mostly will not be there on before Shabbos. They'll be there on Shabbos.
Oh, I've slept over at my son's house.
Slept over once, huh?
No, several times.
Okay, there's a lot we could talk about, but let's see if we could go. Let's move on to another topic. So now let's move on to just another announcement. If after you speak, to mute yourself, so it'll be easier to hear. Now let's move on to halacha 6. In halacha 6, we're going to talk about a custom to bake bread in your home. Have challah baked in your home for Shabbos. Instead of that, there's a custom to have home baked challah. We'll talk about the reason for the custom, and we'll talk the reason for the custom. So before we get into going through inside the halacha 6, I want to talk about
separating challah.
Yeah, it's going to talk about separating challah. I want to talk about, we discussed this last week about there's pas Yisrael. So pas Yisrael is really also connected to the idea. It's also it's a part. It's specific. It's in the category of. It's really extension from the. It's an enactment that's extension from the idea of Bishul Yisrael, or Bishul. There's that, which Bishul Yisrael is food cooked by a Jew. That just want to correct myself from last week. Last week I mentioned that it's just that to have food cooked by a Jew is only a higher standard. So I want to just correct myself and say that it's actually, according to the letter of the law, it's a requirement to have food cooked by a Jew. Now, what does it mean? What is necessary for a for what is necessary to make it be considered food cooked by a Jew. As Rabbi Menachem mentioned last week, you could just have, let's say there's a restaurant or a company that's having a big that's going to be making that's going to be making food the whole day. They're able to have just in the beginning of the day a Jew come in, a mashkiach come in,
Finish it off.
a supervisor, to turn on the fire in the beginning of the day. And since that fire will be on the whole day, that's going to make all the food that is cooked on that fire be considered Bishul Yisrael, cooked by a Jew. It doesn't have to be that a Jew does the entire process of cooking, just has to have a part in the process. That makes it be considered cooked by a Jew. Also, not all foods need to be cooked by a Jew. It's only foods that are not eaten raw. And there are special foods that would go on the table of the king. Okay, now let's focus more on what is Pas Yisrael that you should have. So now Pas Yisrael is bread baked by a Jew. By bread, the rabbis made a leniency, and they said that in a case when if it's difficult to find bread baked by a Jew, since bread is such a important thing for us we need it. It's a staple food. It's a food that we always. It's so necessary. Therefore, they made a leniency and said that you're allowed to eat bread baked by a non-Jewish baker, specifically a baker. Since that it's by a baker, it's a commercial. When it's commercial, they allowed it. So what's the reason why they allowed it when it's commercial? Because there's not as much of a closeness. The whole reason of the rabbis' enactment is because they didn't want a person to get close to a non-Jew. So when it's commercial, there isn't that same closeness. So they said in a case when it's difficult, in a case when you can't find kosher bread, there was room to have bread baked by a non-Jewish baker when it's commercial bread. So there's more specifics in this law of what scenarios could you eat bread baked by a non-Jewish baker, commercial bread coming from a non-Jew. But it is permissible to have. So it's not a requirement to have bread baked by a Jewish baker. You're able to have bread baked coming from a non-Jewish baker. So that's just so that's about, and just to point out that what's considered bread is not just actual bread, but things that are made from the 5 grains. It could be pastries, it could be bagel, challah. These are all going to have the same. They're going to have They're going to have the same law. The second thing I wanted to just talk about before we go inside is there's the mitzvah of separating challah. Someone actually mentioned it. Was saying that there's the separating challah. Why do we have? That's actually the reason why it's important. It's a custom to bake challah at home, have challah baked at home for Shabbos. So you could do the mitzvah of separating challah. Separating challah is when a person bakes a certain amount of dough, there's the obligation to separate challah. How much dough? And just to point out, it's not just when you're baking challah. There's the mitzvah of separating challah, but it's anytime you're baking. If you're making, you could be making ragalach or any type of anything you're baking. It's not just by challah that there's the mitzvah to separate challah. So how much dough is needed to do the mitzvah of separating challah? So to say the bracha for this mitzvah, there's a bracha that you say when you separate the challah. That amount is between 9 different rabbis. It's between 9 to 11 measuring cups. But to just have to separate challah without saying a bracha is if it's between 5 to 9 measuring cups. And the amount that should be separated is a kazayas. It's an olive size in the time of the Talmud, which is, don't have the Rabbi Smith. Do you know the exact measurement of olive size of the kazayas?
We could look it up maybe, but
Okay.
you're saying in
I can
flour?
Yeah.
With regard to flour.
Yeah.
I mean, we could imagine that it's the size of maybe an ounce, 2 ounces, in that
Right.
ballpark.
I don't know the answer to that, but I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you said bread can be baked by a non-Jew for Shabbos, did you mean by a Jewish bakery?
So bread could be baked by
for a Jewish bakery.
Bread could be made even if it's by a non-Jewish bakery. Bread could be baked by a non-Jew. We didn't yet get to about Shabbos. Didn't yet talk about Shabbos. Just
I see. Okay.
During the week.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's the amount that you should separate to do them when you're doing the mitzvah of separating challah. You should separate from your dough around an ounce of dough, and that dough that you separate should be burnt. Okay, so that's just the introduction to halacha 6. Now let's see what's going to be. Now let's go see about what it says in halacha 6. Haminog b'chol Yisrael le'efes b'vatayim l'chamin l'chavit Shabbos. It is a custom amongst all Jews to bake bread in their house, otherwise known as challah, to bake challah to honor Shabbos. Loi mebaya im eichlin b'mei achol pas palter ovid kechavim. Sheyesh lizar la'achol b'yem Shabbos kodesh pas Yisrael. It's not only if during the week a person would eat bread baked by a non-Jewish baker, that he should be careful to eat on Shabbos bread that's baked by a Jew. Rather, even if during the week he's careful to have bread baked by a Jew. Nevertheless, to honor Shabbos, a person should bake in their house in order that the woman could do the mitzvah of separating challah. So the mitzvah of separating challah is a special mitzvah for the woman to do. For a woman to do. What's the reason for this? Ki Adam Rishon nivra be'erev Shabbos. V'haya chalasei shalaylam. When was Adam created? Adam was created on Friday. And Adam was called the challah of the world. So he has a connection to challah. Adam is connected to the idea of challah. To challah. It's called, we're not saying, he was called by the name challah. Adam's name was Adam, but we find in Torah, we find the idea that he referred to Adam as challah. Chalasei shalaylam, the challah of the world. Va'isha b'cheta ibadatai. And as the story in the Torah goes, there was that Adam's wife Chava did a sin and caused Adam to do a sin and ruined Adam. And therefore, women should compensate and rectify this matter. And they could do so by fulfilling a mitzvah of separating challah. When baking challah, you should have 3 loaves. Gadol, ubeini, v'katal. This be a large one, a medium size, and a small size. Habeini lesudas halayla. The medium size loaf should be for the Friday night meal. V'gadol lesudas hayom. L'haris kekavod hayom adif. The large loaf should be for the day meal, for Shabbos day lunch, for the Shabbos lunch meal, to show that that honoring the day is more significant. And the small one should be for the meal in the afternoon, which is otherwise known as Shalosh Shudas. So a summary of this halacha is that there's a custom to bake challah in your homes. And it's not just in a case when during the week you're not careful to have bread baked by a Jew, but even if during the week you have bread baked by a Jew, still you should bake bread at home in order that the woman could do the mitzvah of separating challah, which by doing this mitzvah, it could compensate for the sin that happened to Adam. And on Shabbos, a person should have 3 loaves, a large one, a medium-sized one, and a small one. And the medium size should be for the Friday night meal. The large one should be for the Shabbos day meal. And the small one should be for the afternoon meal. Just to point out, it's the idea of having the 3 different sizes of challah is just in a regular situation. This is just like saying it's a good thing to do. If in a scenario it happens that a person's having a lot of guests Friday night, there wouldn't be any issue to have a larger challah Friday night. So that's just the point to mention. Let's move on to halacha 7. In halacha 7, is a little bit connected to halacha 5. It's going to talk about what are the preparations that a person does before Shabbos. Halacha 5 spoke about the importance that you should personally do something for Shabbos to honor Shabbos. Let's phrase it that Halacha 5 spoke the importance of doing something to show honor on Shabbos. And Halacha 7 is going to more focus on what are the preparations that need to be done on Shabbos.
Rabbi,
They need to be
can
done
I
for
ask a
Shabbos.
question?
Yes.
Rabbi, can I ask a question about
Sure.
the sixth bracha? I missed what you said about saying the bracha. 9 on a bracha, you need 9 what?
9 measuring cups.
Oh, measuring cups.
9
And
measuring
below
amount of
6?
flour. The amount of flour that is
Okay.
that would be required to make a bracha is 9 measuring cups.
And below 6, you don't say the bracha. Is that?
Below 9, you don't say a bracha, and
Oh,
then you still separate the challah if you have less than 9. If it's more than 5,
okay, thank you.
Rabbi Lifshitz, 9 measuring cups. Are that half cups or full cups?
full measuring cups.
Measuring cup. Okay.
So let's read inside halacha 7. Yachin baser v'dagim yafim umatamim v'yayim meshubach k'fi yacholtoi. A person should prepare for Shabbos, should prepare fine meat and fish and choice wine according to a person's means. According to his means. For what reason? So this is in order to have pleasure on Shabbos. Because it's a mitzvah to eat by every meal of Shabbos fish. If they're not damaging to a person's health. However, if fish is damaging to a person's health, or a person doesn't enjoy eating fish, he should not eat them on Shabbos. Because Shabbos was given for pleasure and not for discomfort. So the idea of eating fish is actually, this was what became the custom, that they would have fish. So that on Shabbos they would have fish. The reason is this was a way that they showed pleasure, that they're having pleasure on Shabbos. So for one, that fish is not pleasurable to eat on Shabbos, or it's damaging to the person's health. They shouldn't eat fish on Shabbos. V'yashbis as a sakim. A person should sharpen the knife. Shizou gamkein mikavid haShabbos, because this is as well an honor to Shabbos. V'yisakin es abayis. A person should clean the house. V'yatzia es amitais, and make the beds. V'yifrais mapa ala shulchan. V'sehei prusasei kol yom haShabbos. A person should spread the tablecloth on the table, and the tablecloth should be on the table the entire Shabbos. Having a tablecloth on the whole Shabbos is a way of, the reason for having the tablecloth on the the table the whole Shabbos is it should be nice on Shabbos. It should look nice to show honor for Shabbos. Some are careful to spread 2 tablecloths. A person should rejoice when Shabbos comes. A person should think about how he would set up his house if a very special person was coming. And how much more so he should set it up in a very nice way for the Shabbos queen. In some communities, they would have a bereka or a kishka at the Shabbos, at the Friday night meal. Why would they have this custom? To be a reminder of the manna, that the man was like in a box. How is the man like in a box? Because the man had tal lamata, the tal lamayla. There was dew below the manna, and there's dew above the manna. So the manna was surrounded by dew on top, below it, and on top of it. So it would have food. They would have a custom to have foods that were like in a package. There was a filling inside, and there was layers under and over this food. A person should taste before Shabbos the food that'll have on Shabbos. And a reason for that is in order to give a person an appetite and a looking forward for the Shabbos food. So a summary to halacha 7 is that a person should have fine food and drinks, special food and drinks on Shabbos according to one's means, and you should have a fish by every meal on Shabbos unless it is damaging to one's health or a person does not enjoy eating fish. A person should sharpen the knife before Shabbos. Nowadays, not necessarily. It's not. At least from my understanding, most knives don't have to be sharpened so often, so it wouldn't be so necessary to do this before Shabbos. If you feel the need to sharpen the knives, then it'll be good to do it before Shabbos. A person should, before Shabbos, have the house clean, tidy up in the house, sweep, and whatever else makes the house nice and clean. A person should make, the bed should be made, the tablecloth should be spread out on the table. A person should rejoice when Shabbos comes in, and the person should think how he would set up his house if a very special person was coming to visit him. And he should set up the house just in that same way, because it's even more of a special guest, the Shabbos queen. And some places have the custom to have a food on the night of Shabbos, on Friday night, that has that is like a bareka or a kishka, since there's food in the inside that is surrounded by things on the outside that is, which will remind them of the man, which the man had a layer of dew under it and a layer of dew on top of it. Any questions on this halacha?
Who, Rabbi?
Let's
I
move
have-
along to what?
I have a question. Who started the custom of having fish on Shabbos? Does that come from like the story of the Leviathan?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought I unmuted myself. Wait, 1 second.
I can hear you.
No, now you're muted. Harleen, you got to press it again.
How about
Yeah.
this? Can you hear me?
Good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. It says mute on my picture, but I'm just wondering a couple things about the fish, which is a custom, long-standing custom, but where does it come from? It's a rabbinical thing that the rabbis instituted, and does it come from like it has to do with the Leviathan when the meal of Mashiach? Is that to symbolize that or honor that? That the reason that we should have fish if we can tolerate it?
Sorry, Mary, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Let me repeat her question. Can you
Okay.
hear me, Rabbi Yossi? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're also low.
Low?
Rabbi Menachem, you're also low.
Why don't
Hard
you,
for me to hear you as well.
maybe you have to higher your volume on your computer. Higher your volume.
Raise your volume.
Okay, can you hear us better now? Yeah, Yossi, can you hear us?
Wait, still having.
There might be a button on your.
Still don't hear.
You still don't hear us? Uh-huh. Okay.
Should I just go? Maybe I'll just continue the.
Okay. Okay, just continue.
I hear very little of what you're saying.
Okay, just continue.
Okay. So we spoke about the importance of having in Halacha 7, we spoke about the importance of having nice and special food and drinks on Shabbos. In Halacha 8, we're going to talk about what should a person do when they don't have so much income, and it's hard for them to find, and it's financially it's a little tough. What should they do to have pleasure on Shabbos? Halacha 8. Afilu ani shav Yisrael yizdares v'yizametz la'anig es Shabbos. Even a poor person should make an extra effort to have pleasure on Shabbos. V'yitzamtzim b'chol hashavua k'tei shetiyenu le'mais l'kavod Shabbos. He should minimize his expenses throughout the week in order that he'll have money to honor Shabbos. V'im ein le'mais, if he doesn't have any money, Yova afilu al mashkanes v'tzarchei Shabbos. He should borrow money, even if he has to borrow with a collateral, in order that he should have money to buy the needs of Shabbos. V'alzeh amru Rabbi Seinu Zechreinam Lavracha B'nai lavu livu vani alai vani pareya. On this, our rabbis say a very fascinating statement. My children, Hashem says, my children, borrow on my account, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to pay back. It's a different, it's Hashem, it's so to say Hashem's bank account. Hashem's going to make sure that you'll be able to pay back. And this idea is said, V'chol mizuneisav shel adam katsuvim loy mireish hashana chutz meitzos Shabbos v'yantiv. It said that on Rosh Hashanah, a person's livelihood is decided. How much is a person's livelihood will be for that year. But that amount of livelihood that a person will have that is decided on Rosh Hashanah is for that person's livelihood, besides for the livelihood that person will have for Shabbos and Yantiv. If a person spends more for Shabbos or Yantiv, a person will have the same amount of livelihood during the other days of the week, and it'll just be they'll have more livelihood that year, since he'll have the same amount of livelihood. The amount of weekday livelihood a person will have is not going to change if he spends more on Shabbos or less. It's something that is set on Rosh Hashanah how much a person's livelihood will be, and that's for the livelihood that he'll have during the weekdays. And it's not going to, and the amount that you spend on Shabbos isn't going to interfere to how much livelihood you're going to have during the weekdays. So that's what it says about what a poor person should do. If they don't have money, they should borrow money, and Hashem's going to make sure to pay back. The if it's a really dear time financially, on this our rabbis state, Shabbat that a person should have a weekday have a Shabbos just like he would, the day of Shabbos he should conduct, just like he should conduct in his meals, just like he would conduct during the week, have the same type of meal, in order that he shouldn't be a burden to others, shouldn't make himself needed to others, that he would have to collect money from others. And certainly, if possible, a person should at least try to do something minor to make the meal on Shabbos a little bit nicer than during the week, than a weekday meal. For example, to have small fish by that meal, by a Shabbos meal, or something similar to that. Now, just another law about eating about food on Shabbos. If a person gets sent food, and the one that sent the food said, "This is food I want you to have for Shabbos," a person should have that food on Shabbos and not leave it you shouldn't instead have that food during the week. The food that was sent, if someone, let's say, a guest comes over and brings a bottle of wine, says, "I want since I'm coming over, I came over with a bottle of wine, and this will be a bottle that we'll have on Shabbos, bottle for you for Shabbos, or even if they're not a guest, just want to give a present, bottle of wine or something else as a present, some chocolate or anything.
The potatoes.
That it's what it states in the Kitzur, in the summary of the Code of Jewish Law. The law is that it's a person should try the thing that you should do is to have it on Shabbos instead of having it on a different day. So that's do a summary on Halacha 8. Halacha 8 states that also a poor person should make an effort to have pleasure on Shabbos by limiting his expenses during the week, so I'll have money to spend for Shabbos. In a case when a person doesn't have money, a person should borrow money even if he has to give a collateral. So I'll have money for the needs of Shabbos. And money that a person spends on Shabbos is on a different, Hashem pays back whatever money you spend on Shabbos. In a case when a person it's very tough financially. They don't even have what to give us for a collateral. Everything that they own needs to be talking. In a case when everything that they own, they need to keep. They're not able to give. They're not in a situation that they could give a collateral. So in such a case, a person should conduct their Shabbos meal like a weekday meal, as opposed to going around collecting from others to have a nicer meal on Shabbos. But it's added if it's possible for a person in that case, in a very dear financial situation, to do something minor in order to have a nicer meal on Shabbos, they should do so. And if a person gets sent a food or a drink for Shabbos, they should have it. They should have it on Shabbos and not have it during the weekday. Just some points to mention. That it's stated that a person should make his week should not do. A person should conduct his Shabbos like if they don't have any way of they don't have any money, and the only way they would be able to celebrate Shabbos, a Shabbos meal nicer than the weekday, is by collecting from others. They shouldn't do so, but it's not. At the same time, it's not forbidden, and it's actually could be a nice thing that a person could give to someone they have in different communities. Let's say that you give to someone to help them to help people that have a hard time having a nice shop, that they're struggling financially. You're able to give a poor person. You're able to give charity to a poor person in order that they could spend food on Shabbos. There's the law is that a poor person should not go around collecting for Shabbos. So the Code of Jewish Law says it's better to not to have a regular day rather than collect, but it's not forbidden for a person to give charity to someone for a person to have a nicer Shabbos, for a person that needs food for their Shabbos. Okay. Now, just to end off, talk about a little nice to, besides to go out, besides just the laws of Shabbos, to hear a little bit about the laws of Shabbos. Tell us how the day of, what are the things we need to do. But then there's also that we could give a little appreciation to our soul, how our soul could experience Shabbos. So last week we talked about that on Shabbos, it's a day of rest, that the world that Hashem rests on the seventh day of the week, and every Shabbos, not just that it happened when the world was created on the day 7 of creation, Hashem rested, but every week Hashem rests on this day, which causes the world to be in a higher level. That since Hashem is resting, there's the level of the way Hashem, what it means that Hashem rests is that he's no longer investing in the world, creating the world through, so to say, Hashem's level of action and speech, which it's spoken about how Hashem gives. That's how the world comes into creation, through Hashem's action and speech. But on the day of Shabbos, the way the world exists, not with the level of Hashem's action and speech. There's the world's getting a higher level of energy from Hashem's thought. Just like a person, the more inner of a person is, the deeper level of the person. When things are in the state of thought by a person, the thought of a person is more connected to a deeper level of the person than when a person does an action, or even when a person speaks. So too is it that by Hashem, when we have the level of Hashem's thought, is a higher level than Hashem's action and speech. So on Shabbos, the world exists through Hashem's thought, which brings the elevation to the world. And when the world is elevated, it's also affecting the soul. The soul of a Jew is elevated. Our souls are elevated. And this is, we were speaking today in the laws about pleasure on Shabbos. One of the things we talked about. Pleasure on Shabbos, there's the body, there's our physical pleasure that we have on Shabbos. But there's also, we could have a spiritual pleasure on Shabbos. The soul could have our pleasure on Shabbos. And that is that during the week, from Sunday through Friday, we have a lot of things that we're occupied with, whether it's work or whether it's just anything that we do. Work doesn't just mean going to work, but doing anything that is permissible to do during the week, and it's not permissible on Shabbos, and it's not permissible on Shabbos. Things that we don't do on Shabbos. So these, during the week, we're occupied, and that's what Hashem wants us to do, to be occupied with worldly things. But come Shabbos, we're not occupied with worldly things, and we're able to now just tune in to the godliness that is. We're much more tuned in to the godliness that is there, that is in our soul. We're able to just have pleasure and enjoy the our connecting to Hashem, our connection to Hashem, and our being together with Hashem. That's a pleasure and the enjoyment that we could have for our soul on Shabbos.